Hey everyone, this is Citywide Blackout live at the Rhode Island Author Expo. This is an all-day event running from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There are writers, panels, some raffles, all kinds of good stuff. So if you're in the Warwick area, come on down and check it out. And joining me now is one of the many authors you can reach, you can meet there. Her name is Nishita Roy-Pope. Nishita, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let us talk about your new book. This one has just come out. It's called Courage Kids Magic Soccer Ball.
Yes.
What is this one all about?
Yeah, so this is an early reader chapter book designed for kids ages 7 to 9. And really, the focus is on this magic soccer ball, which when this group of kids who didn't know each other, they become friends. When they touch it, all of their dreams are unlocked. They live in a place called Boringville. As you can imagine, not a lot happening. And they believe that there's more to the world. They're really curious. They want to leverage technology. They want to try new things. And so Courage Kids is all about their adventure to help transform Boringville into a place that is fun, exciting, and where kids are really encouraged to embrace their curiosity and creativity.
Okay, now normally I do ask about the world building, but I get the feeling for Boringville this was a pretty simple task.
The what building?
The world building.
The world building?
Yeah.
What is world building?
Like building the world of your book.
Building the world of... Oh, yeah. Boringville is like you think of Pleasantville. Like, everything's the same. It's gray. All the houses are the same. All the cars are the same. Like, everything is just done the way it's always been.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Yeah, I hate it immediately.
Especially if you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is not where you want to grow up.
Okay, so how do the kids go about making the world not Boringville?
So they discover this secret passage inside of their school. They enter into a place called the Chicka-Flicka Zoom Zoom, and
I love that. It's perfect.
Yeah, and so this magical world, there's technology, it's colorful, it's vibrant, and it's really this exciting place, but it's a secret place that they enter into, and they are told there that if they unlock this power of this magic soccer ball, they can save their town. So the problem is, if they do not get enough people in the town to touch the magic soccer ball, unlock their imagination, the town will vanish and disappear forever. So it's on these group of 5 kids to use their teamwork and adventure skills and persuasion skills to get all of the people of Boringville who do not want to change to be willing to do this so that they can save their town.
Okay, tell me about the kids. Who are they?
Yeah, so there are 5 kids. They're all in different grades, and the intent was that they're really different from each other. They don't know each other, but this common event, their common curiosity, brings them together and unites them. So they range from a kindergartner to a 5th grader, but they have all of them have their quirks, individuality. I was really intentional in making sure kids are diverse so that kids of all backgrounds can feel seen and represented in them. So you can see here the kids, they all got kind of funky, cool clothes and big hair, and one's got big blue spikes, but all of them are just a little bit outside the norm of what is in Boringville, and you can understand why they're so eager to change things, because they all know that their individuality is a superpower.
Okay. Let's talk about diversity, because this is a big part of your book, and, and you're also hosting a panel later today called Representation Matters.
I am.
What is the importance of maintaining diversity in your works?
Yeah, so when I started on the journey of becoming an author, I have 2 little kids. And when they were even younger, I was looking for books for them to read. And I was disappointed in myself, in what I had in my house, that there was very few who looked like my kids. So I'm Indian, my husband is Black and Native American and Cape Verdean. We have 4 different cultures intermixed in our own household. And I had 1 book out of 50 in my home when my youngest, was a small child, that looked like my kids. So I knew that I knew I had to do it for my own house, but then I looked at the data, and there's very few diverse characters of color as protagonists in books. There's very few authors of color, and so it's really important to me that kids of all backgrounds can see themselves. And I wasn't doing that in my own home. The industry shows that we still have a very big gap And so this is my way to make sure that kids feel seen, feel heard in the characters, and that also myself as an author of color is contributing to show that people who look like me belong in this industry and deserve to have our voice shared as much as other people.
Do you feel like the industry is in a good place when it comes to representation, or is there more work to do?
No, I do not think the industry, when you look at who works at publishers, we're not in a good place. When you look at authors, we're not in a good place. When you look at the characters, no, we're across the board, we're not. There has been improvement, no doubt. However, to me, I would still say it's insignificant to what the potential of our world. We have 6 billion people in this world. We have vibrant diversity. The fact that still a very small percentage of books are written by and representing characters of color in particular. Yeah, I would say we have a lot of work to do.
How do we fix the problem? How do we get more representation in the industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one is for people who are watching, if you have something to share, a message, have the courage to write the book. 2, if you are making a purchase decision, right now the holidays are coming up, this is a good time to think about what are you going to give to your grandkids or nieces or nephews or whoever. Instead of, that toy that they're going to play with for 5 minutes, why not get a book, and why not be intentional about the books you're bringing into the homes of your loved ones? And then the other part is the industry. We have to put more pressure on the overall industry to understand that there's still bias, that there's still groups who are not being included. One of the things in my prep for the panel that you mentioned, so I asked yesterday, what's one of the myths around diversity in literature overall? And it was really interesting that both of the authors shared a similar message, that people think that if there's diverse characters or there's a diverse author, that only people who look like them or who associate with them can resonate with the message or buy it. And that also correlates to the publishing, the marketing efforts, right? You might say, oh, this is a really niche book that I can only market to a small segment of the population. I would say this is a book for inspired kids to be confident and courageous and creative and curious. It just happens to have diverse characters, but it's not limited. The message is a message that's universal, but the representation is something that we, can really emphasize. But there's a lot of bias in how much resources we put behind books that are considered diverse, right? People think they only can touch a small segment of the market.
I understand. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this being your first book. And I love talking to debut writers because the big question is, what got you here that you said, I want to write a book?
Yeah, so it really was that moment, becoming a parent, seeing my own lack of representation in my own house, and understanding I have also a skill set. I have a background I worked in big companies, I worked in marketing for a long time. A lot of my business role was storytelling and getting people to resonate with a corporate type of message. So I said, if I can do this for global audiences all over the world in my business career, I already have that creative skill set, the storytelling skill set. Why not do it for kids? Because I believe if we can fundamentally change how kids see themselves in the world, all the problems that follow will get removed, right? We won't have so many issues. We'll have stronger self-esteem. We'll have kids who are more willing to take risks. We'll have kids who are more innovative. We'll have kids who are willing to study hard things like math and science. You see drop-offs in those kind of areas later on, especially from girls and kids of color. So my hope is that I have to do it for my own kids. I have the skill set that I can do it for many, and that I truly believe if we can do this properly, that we will change an entire future generation of kids and how they show up every day in the world.
Okay. Was it hard for you to do this, especially given that your background is in business, which isn't always the most creative place to be?
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for people who write books. I will say writing this age group was easier for me because one, I have now a kid who's 7 years old. He's totally in this So I'm reading with him every night. I kind of know the structure and like what he likes. I'm always asking him like, why did you like this book? Why did you not like this book? What did you learn from this book? You know, what characters did you like? I have my like little built-in focus group in my house.
Nice.
So I study a lot his level of engagement and what he wants. But again, I have the skill set. I've worked in marketing for a long time, so it wasn't like super hard to be creative because I have that part of my brain that's just maybe been a little bit quiet for some time. This was a chance to unlock it.
Okay. I'm curious as to what your kids told you with regards to what kind of books they don't like.
So my older son, he's really into sports. So his challenge to me was, Mom, can you write a book about sports? So there's soccer ball, that's a central theme, but I snuck in like all the other stuff I know kids need to learn. But for him, he's got a complete if it's about anything about sports, he's like locked in. And so I really learned that kids are, when they're passionate about something, they're more likely to be engaged. So my hope with this book, that is the first of the series, but maybe the next one is about submarines, maybe the next one is about space, maybe one's about dinosaurs, so that eventually kids will be able to resonate, maybe not with all of them, but maybe there'll be one that gets them hooked, and then they'll be more willing to entertain the rest of the series. But maybe there's one theme that really attracts them.
Okay, dinosaurs in a submarine in space.
It could happen. Like, why not? So, like, you could do anything in a book. I think that's the beautiful thing, right?
Is there a certain like area you try to stick to when it comes to like writing your books, as opposed to just going like all over the place?
So the core, I would say, is I try to bring a lot of technology elements into the story because, again, I want kids to, it is part of their generation. It is part of their future. So for them to understand that it can be used as good, that it has value, that they are allowed to play a role in designing it. So the STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, math, focus, is a very big part, and then the diversity part, and then the book, you know, there has to be some like drama, adventure, there has to be some hardship, right? That's always a good story. One other thing that I've done in these books is I put a quiz at the end of each chapter, which is great because it helps the kids pause. My son, he said, Mom, this is so awesome because you put a pause in the book, which I was like, you know, he's going to be mad that I'm like making him like, you know, take a quiz. But he didn't see it as a quiz. He saw it as a chance to see how well, he's a competitor, like how well did I understand. And one of my, someone else who bought it, who's got two twin girls, she told me the same, that her two twin girls were like fighting over who could answer the questions right.
Wow.
And my husband's a teacher, so when he read it, he said, you know, this totally aligns with how I would teach a class. Because we would introduce a topic, but then we would pause for retention and making sure people really understand before we move on. So this is helping to I think it's going to be an easy integration into the classroom because not only has so many good like messages that align with school, but I also have built in a learning mechanism that most books this age do not have.
Wow. So this one's definitely took a lot of planning. Did you have to do any kind of pivots when it came to the actual writing process?
So, yes, because even when we first started talking, right, like I had a completely different name for this book, right? When, like we just figured that out
right,
a few minutes ago.
I saw that.
So definitely pivots have happened in the characters, the plot line, but for the most part, I think although I sat down to write this a few months ago, literally, I think the concepts have been baking for a long time because a lot of the work that I do in my regular life as an entrepreneur is focused around giving young people the skills to thrive in the future. That is what I do for my full-time job. So for me, this is just a chance to show that inside of a book.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just, I feel like this is just a very nice, tangible theme that relates to what my purpose in this world already is, and it's a chance for me to put it into something that's easy for people to consume and hopefully exciting for them.
Okay. Now, I know that a big part of this, of course, is promoting yourself. You have to market your book, you have to get yourself out there, do the signings, do the events. Did you feel like you were ready for that because you have the business background? Nope.
No.
Shaking her head, no.
Well, so I'm looking around here at this awesome event that we're
Sure.
at, and I'm like, oh, I need this kind of promotion. This person's
Yeah.
got such cool. But what's awesome about this event and trade shows like this is that you have all of these authors who are so different. We can learn from each other. There's just a general community of exchange here, which I really appreciate. I'm learning. Again, I know what it takes in general to market, but I have to. What's interesting about kids' books, you want kids to be excited, but the buyer is the parent or the grandparent or the school, right? So it's really interesting because the kid has to say I want this, but they're not the one paying the money. So it's a very nuanced way that we have to position it. But I'm definitely learning, trying to start using my social media more for this. I took up our neighbor here who's sitting at the event, had a author showcase, daily show. So I submitted for that. I signed up for this podcast, even though I just released this book 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know what? We're gonna go for it.
Exactly.
So I think Courage Kids is about having the courage to do hard things, new things, bold things, and I have to stand by that myself to promote it. I can't write a book about having courage and be sitting in the shadows.
You definitely can, which though I feel is the biggest challenge because writing can be sort of isolating.
Yeah.
And then you have to be out there and talking to folks, and that can be hard.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not the most outgoing person out there.
Yeah, it can be. And the good thing is I've had a ton of experience again, I have this very vast corporate career, entrepreneur career, so I've been on big panels, I've done a TEDx talk, so I'm not a stranger to sharing my message broadly. I think the hard part is talking about yourself.
Sure.
Right? That is a little bit awkward always, but I do a lot of coaching for professional people, and it's about just leaning into that discomfort because ultimately I know the purpose of why I wrote this book is important. So if that means I have to be awkward and uncomfortable and work through that for the greater good of what I'm trying to do, then it's worth it.
Okay. So what is next for you? Is there going to be another book?
I hope so. So I put the number one on the.
Oh.
So I feel like either this is the only book ever, and it's a very rare find.
Right. It's a
and
one-off.
And you're forever searching for the rest. Or no, but my hope is that early next year there can be a 2 and a 3 coming soon. So let's see if people are receptive. Right, this is a test in many ways. Let's see if we sell, if people give good feedback. I need to hear from kids. They can tell me what's good, what's not good, should we change? Should it be like the dinosaur in space, blah, 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 or something else?
It could work.
Right, I found kids are awesome sources of ideas.
Oh, yeah.
So part of my next process is to have them go through it, give me their really candid feedback, and then make the next versions.
You know what? Get your sons, all their friends, put them in the
totally.
room and say, okay, what do I do for this one?
Totally. I'm going to be number one mom. Get all together and read. They're going to... And then you can play outside.
Exactly. There you go. All right, but before we go, let us talk about the art. Because, of course, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Who is the mind behind this?
Yeah, so the artist is a guy named Chris Hilaire. So you can see really beautiful artwork. He is from Rhode Island originally.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a URI alum, young guy. He now lives in Connecticut, and I got connected with him because of Stillwater Press, who is a big supporter of our Rhode Island authors. I approached, Stillwater published my book, and when I approached them about this whole process, I said, I'd like an illustrator, but then I said I would really like an illustrator who is diverse. I think part of me standing for this mission is living it fully. And so they connected me with Chris Hilaire, who's really talented artist, was very receptive to my feedback and making changes, but also putting his own really creative stuff that I would never have thought of. The way he approached it was really awesome. So I would recommend Chris. And if you're going through a publisher or printing service, they have connections to really talented people. So I would recommend leveraging those relationships to find your next illustrator.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Nishita, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. But where do folks go to learn more about you and get the book?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon right now. So check it out. It's only $9.99. Please leave a review if you do
Yes.
read it.
Yes.
And if you're at the Aria Expo today, I'm here, table 114. I would love to see you and meet you. And even if you don't want to buy this book, just come give me a high five to let me know that you support a new author.